Hi, and welcome back. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome back to the presentation, I guess. So, in the last video, I was kind of going over a bit of what I guess a bit of an analysis of playing in what you do, I guess, when you play in 6/8 time. And what I'd like to do in this video is put up an example in 6/8 time. And before I do that, I just want to, in the last video, I had a diagram that had our groups of 3/8 notes. So I'll draw that again. So we had 1, 2, 3, and a bar or a beam, and then another 3. So I want to draw this back up, and I just want to write, excuse me, let me just say this is in 6/8 time. And I just want to write our syllables again under this. So this is going to be 1 and 2 and Okay, so let me just real quick give you, I guess, the example of that. I'm going to get the metronome out. And let's set this to 2 beats per cycle, and then we'll just start it. Actually, that's a bit too fast. There. 2 and 1 and 2 and okay, so here we go. 1 and 2 and okay, so that's how we would kind of count out eighth notes in 6/8 time. We count out 1 and 2 and it's also how we differentiate between I remember in the last video the big difference I said between playing in 6/8 time and playing in 3/4 time, which you remember from the last video. 3/4 time has got just as many eighth notes, but in 6/8 time, we're going to divide this into 2 groups of 3, 2 groups of 3 big beats. So we've only got 2 metronome marks, and because of that, we said in the last video, we've got downbeat on 1, and then 2 upbeats for each metronome mark. So if you remember, this is our, I guess, green arrow analysis like we've been doing in these other videos. So anyway, I'm just going to leave this up right now while, and I'll erase these little green brackets, I guess. But I'm just going to leave up this diagram down here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do an example, a rhythmic example in 6/8 time. 6/8, and I'm going to try to do my examples on a 5-line staff, just so you can get used to seeing music that's written on a 5-line staff. Because unless you're playing, percussion, and really that would be like orchestral percussion, even drum set. If you're reading in a big band or something like that, if you're reading in a jazz band, drum set is still going to be written on a 5-line staff. So I think it's important that we start reading music that's written on a 5-line staff. So let's get started with our example. And I'm just going to make up something kind of random. Let's say quarter note, eighth note, then quarter rest, eighth note, bar line, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 eighth notes, or the rhythmic value of 6 eighth notes in this measure, so that's a full bar. And now let's actually make this dotted half note, okay? And that's fine. So pretty much what we're doing is we're combining all of our beats in this measure. We're just going to combine into one note, and that's absolutely acceptable to do. You will absolutely see a dotted half note written if you're reading in 6/8 time. Okay, so that's that. And now let's make this dotted quarter rest oh, didn't mean to do that. Dotted quarter rest, eighth rest. And then let's make this 2 eighth notes. Okay. And now for our last bar, let's say we're going to do, how about we'll just make 3 eighth notes, 3 eighth notes, and then dotted quarter note. Okay, there we go. So this will be our this will be our rhythmic example. And now we're going to go through, and what we're going to do is we're going to analyze this in 6/8 with our red beat numbers like we've been doing. And remember, we've got, so this is going to get a little bit different, and it might not, hopefully, it might kind of go against the intuition that we're trying to develop with the time signature, where we had, a number on top and then a number on bottom, and the number on top was always, if there was a 3 up here, then each measure we would number from 1 to 3 or something like that. So this kind of goes against it, because right now we have a 6 in our top number, but we're only going to number 1 and 2 right now, because in 6/8 time, and I think I went over this in the last video, I don't know how in depth I covered it. Let me just erase this red. There we go. I think I covered this in the last video a little bit, but I want to cover it a bit more right now. In 6/8 time, what you would set a metronome to isn't the eighth note. You don't, or I don't want to say that. It is generally not the eighth note. You're not going to set our metronome to the eighth note. What we're going to do is we're going to set our metronome to the dotted quarter note. And in this example, we're going to say that this is equal, that dotted quarter note is equal to 50 beats per minute, is what we're going to say this example is in. And actually, I'm realizing if I write that right there, I'm going to run out of room. So actually, you know what? I'm going to write this down a bit farther. So for this example, we're going to say that dotted quarter note is going to be equal to 50 beats per minute, okay? And so what does that mean? It means that each group of 3 eighth notes, it doesn't mean that we have 6 group, it doesn't mean that we're going to have 6 metronome clicks per measure. It means that we're only going to have 2, right? Because a dotted quarter note has the same rhythmic value as 3 eighth notes. So it means that for each 3 eighth notes that go by, we'll get a metronome click, okay? So a metronome click is going to pretty much, each metronome click is going to encompass 3 eighth notes. So let me just get the metronome back, and I'll do that one more time. Speed this up to 50. Okay? So each time that metronome clicks, those are 3 eighth notes going by. Bum, 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 ba. Okay? 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and okay? So even though it might be a little bit confusing, because we have a 6 up here, we have a 6 as the top number in our time signature, but we're not having, the metronome isn't going to click 6 times per measure. And that is kind of one of the confusing things in 6/8 time. So that might be kind of a little bit confusing to you, and it's kind of hard to get that intuition just from looking at this time signature, because if you look at it, you think, oh, well, there's a 6 in that top number, and I'm going to have 6 metronome clicks per bar, and it's not. I guess that really just isn't the case. So anyway, I'm actually running out of time, so I'm going to stop the video here. Probably before you move on to the next video, why don't you try, I guess with that intuition, knowing that we're only going to be numbering 1 and 2, why don't you try putting in your red beat numbers underneath this example, and in the next video we'll just start right with that. Anyway, I'll see you soon.